how fortunate I've been the past couple years because I get to try out some of the best bikes available in the Philippine market. And today is no different because what we have here is a special bike, a bike that begs to be ridden on many roads. This is the 2021 Ducati Multistrada V4S. I know, we're a little bit late, but better late than never. It's time to go beyond the ride. In stock form, the bike is powered by a 1,158cc engine that punches out 170 horsepower at 10,500 RPM and 125 Newton meters of torque at 8,750 RPM. Stopping power is provided by Brembo's front and back with cornering ABS as well. Keeping bumps at bay, you get the Marzocchi Ducati Skyhook Suspension Evolution. Wheels and tires, you get 19 in the front, 17 at the back. The front is 120 by 70, the rear is 170 by 60. The tires are Pirelli Scorpion Trail, which Pirelli says are 90% on-road and 10% off. And you have the option of getting spoke wheels as well. Full disclosure, the bike has been modified by the owner and the list of mods are written in the description. I'm sure you're expecting this bike to have some serious tech, and it absolutely does. You have a 6.5-inch TFT screen, which gives you all the necessary information that you need. You have 8 levels of traction control, 8 levels of wheelie control. You have 3 levels of cornering ABS. You have radar, and let me explain what the radar does. These little lights right here by the side mirrors, they're not indicators. What it does is that if there is a vehicle in the vicinity, these light up, depending on where the vehicle is. So it's an added safety feature, and it warns you if there is a vehicle in the blind spot of the bike. I mean, that is absolutely brilliant. Something else that is really impressive for me is that if you're on cruise control on the highway and the vehicle in front of you starts to slow down, because of the radar, it detects it and the bike slows down by itself. Mind-blowing. But maybe my favorite thing about what the TFT screen offers that some of the other, I guess, premium bikes out there don't show, fuel gauge. You know I complain about that all the time, but finally, Ducati, thank you very much for including a fuel gauge. But I guess that is really necessary because this is an adventure bike. The bike also does have hill hold control, and that came in really handy. Just recently, when I was pulling up into this area, there's a incline, and you have to get the ticket for the parking area to the left, and a very, very steep incline. And when I was there, I was wondering what that was I was feeling with the bike, and it was the hill hold control. So, I mean, right off the bat, you can already tell that this bike will take care of you in different situations. The fuel tank capacity is 22 liters, and Ducati claims that you can get about 18 kilometers per liter, but I was actually closer to 15 kilometers per liter when I took this bike to Clark, which is about 100 kilometers away from Makati. Now, maybe it's because I was on the throttle a little bit more than I typically would be because, well, it's a fun bike to ride. You know, you really feel the Ducati sport bike DNA, but with the comfort of an ADV or tourer. I mean, that is the dream, right? I mean, you want that feeling of a sport bike, but comfortable. Now, the standard seat height can go from 840 millimeters to 860 millimeters, but the owner of this bike is, well, shorter than I am, so he had it lowered a little bit more by close to 20 millimeters. Now, I'm 5'6" with a 764 millimeter inseam, and that's the situation. Now, the curb weight is 243 kilograms, which is typical for an adventure bike of this size, but when you're moving, you don't really feel it too much. It holds its weight really well. Now, I know this is not your typical adventure bike or something that you would take on a trail too often, but I do wish that the foot pegs were a little bit wider because these are kind of skinny, but it's okay. I mean, you can still stand on it okay, but I just like a little bit more surface level on my adventure type bikes. And this is just kind of skinny. Now at this angle, especially when it was red, doesn't it kind of look like an angry bird? Ducatis have a reputation of getting hot, and when they designed this bike, they included these vents that, well, take the hot air and point it away from the rider, whose legs are going to be here. So that's a nice design that they have, especially when you're moving with the bike. It's going to force the hot air to blow away from the rider. And these little winglets right here, these aren't to keep the bike down like they are on the Street Fighter. These actually will force the colder air from down there up to the rider's legs. Now, as I mentioned, the owner of the bike did a lot of things to it, including the livery. I think this special black paint job, it's the best looking Multistrada in the Philippines, at least that's my opinion. The seat is also aftermarket, and this, even though the stock seat is okay, this is actually just so much better. So much better. Whoa, it's hot right now, but it is so much more comfortable. Over in the front of the bike, of course, you have LEDs. You have the adjustable windscreen, which is relatively easy, actually. Well, with one hand, when you're on the highway, you can easily adjust that. And this little thing right here, that's actually the radar. So this is what detects the vehicles in the vicinity, whether they're in front of you or to the side. And that's the one that also kind of slows down the bike when there's a vehicle in front of you slowing down as well. Of course, it's got the Akra exhaust. Now, the owner of the bike found it a little bit too loud, so he decided to put the silencers back on, but let's still do a sound test so you can hear it. It still sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Ducati first introduced the original Multistrada back in 2003 as more of a sport tourer and a supermoto motorcycle. A bike that is meant for long rides more than off-road, unlike perhaps its rival, the BMW GS, which is probably a little bit more versatile. Now, with adventure riding gaining in popularity in the past couple of years, owners started to take their MTS onto different surfaces to explore further. They started to offer spoke wheels and sometimes more off-roadish tires, and the bike proved to be capable on some back roads and even light trails. Now, like I said, the seat is super comfortable, one of the more comfortable bikes I've ever ridden. And the ergonomics are that of an ADV, so you know it's relaxed and an easy position to be in. Although the leg space, for somebody my size, I think it's okay. But somebody I think over 6 feet tall will find it maybe slightly cramped, but I guess that's something that you could get used to. I like the stance and the wide handlebars because it makes you feel like you're in control. And you don't feel much vibration at all. It's not quite as relaxed and chill and lazy boy feel like the GS, but honestly, that's a good thing, because you still feel the sensation of riding a motorcycle. In fact, as I mentioned, its power and feel kinda is similar to that of the Panigale, but in ADV form, which kind of doesn't make sense, but I'm thankful it's that way. Now I want to talk about the radar a little bit further. What you see, what looks like an indicator or a signal light, as I mentioned, is actually the radar, right? This lights up. And the bike is telling you that there is a car or another motorist in the vicinity. It's really cool. Cars have had this for a while, but this is really a first in motorcycles, this radar thing. The adaptive cruise control is a little more complicated, but basically if you activate cruise control and the vehicle in front of you slows down, the MTS will slow down automatically. It's an awesome safety feature to have. Oh, that quick shifter is really good. It's really good. It's smooth as butter. Now the engine is really something special. It's one of the best in balancing performance and usability. Usually when a bike has an engine really built for, let's say, to go fast, if you're cruising along at a slower speed, it won't feel pleasant. This, well, let's just say, I feel like I can keep up with some sport bikes, if not beat them, and be infinitely more comfortable doing it, and still be able to go at a slower pace through some lighter trails. Not many bikes can do that. Considering the bike is 243 kilograms, it's really nimble and easy to handle. It kind of doesn't make sense really, but you know, it's easier to handle than some middleweight ADVs. It's weird in a good way. I'm not sure why this is always compared to the GS. I know I've been doing it throughout this entire episode because the GS is, well, you know, it's comfy, easy to ride, the fuel range is excellent. The MTS feels more like a motorcycle instead of a big, comfortable scooter. This is more sport-oriented. And I have to say, this is actually cooler. But I don't think the GS is trying to be cool, at least not in my opinion. The GS wants to be more efficient and precise. This wants you to go balls to the wall and be comfortable doing it. Plus, yeah, I think this is definitely cooler than the GS. Riding around the city isn't too bad, maybe because of the grills on the side to blow the hot air away from you, but I don't feel the heat as much as I do with the Street Fighter or the Monster. Now, of course, you will have issues with some filtering in tighter spots in city traffic, but that's expected on any ADV. However, this isn't an everyday bike. This is a bike that you probably use on the weekends to go out of town with. The fuel consumption is also something that maybe could deter one from getting this bike. But chances are you won't really care because the trade-off with the fun factor is not even close. It's so much more fun than it is impractical when it comes to fuel range. I do believe that any intermediate rider could ride this bike with no issues whatsoever.
So the verdict, fantastic. I mean, it's one of the best bikes I've ever ridden. I can't stress enough how much it feels like a comfortable sport bike rather than an adventure bike or tourer, and that is a good thing. However, all that goodness comes at a price. The Ducati Multistrada V4 starts at 1,535,000 Philippine pesos. The V4S, which is this one with radar, starts at 1,895,000 Philippine pesos, while the Pikes Peak, that is over 2 million Philippine pesos. That is a lot of money, but this is one heck of a motorcycle. For more information about this bike and other MCs out there, log on to www.motodeal.com.ph. This has been Jinno. Hope you guys enjoyed going beyond the ride.